I made this card following Delight. She has posted many of this type of card in the gallery, the Make the Cut gallery. And you could search for crisscross in search terms, C-R-I-S-S, C-R-O-S-S. I don't know if it's all one word, but we can search for it. I think it's all one word.
I have 3 S's in there.
Too many S's, yeah. So she has 8 different cards here, and each card has parts list and envelopes to go with them, and they're all free for download. So if you own Make the Cut, just go ahead and search. Show you how I search for that, Criss space cross, spelled that way. Then you get all 9 of them. To get one, you can get the basic one, a basic one that she has. I think it's under a different name, maybe this one, Trifold card. So this is a Trifold card. You can see the picture better if I go to contrast here. And this is one that she made up from a design she had seen. So this is just one style here. And she thought she would like to see this made and Make the Cut. So I decided I'd select a heart for my version of this and make it similar to hers that she had made, since Valentine's Day is coming. So this is a picture of what I came up with. I started with these parts here and proceeded to make my card that looks like this. So I'll show you how I went from these shapes to these shapes. I also made an envelope and attempted a spinning heart with not much success, but I think maybe Susan can help us with that. So I'm just going to show you this one, and there are many ways to do this, but I found a nice easy way to do it in Make the Cut. And the measurements, again, will depend on what you want your finished product to look like, this project size, but I'm pretty much sticking to pretty close to what she had in hers. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on Basic Shapes and type on SQ for the square and grab it from where it landed. Always goes where your caret is on the screen. So mine was over there. And for sizing this, I'm going to first place it on the X and Y at 0 so that things will line up easier. And then for the, I'll change the lock to green. For the width, I'll do 10.75. And then for the height, I'm going to do 7 inches, just to give me a 7-inch tall card. And I think I'll switch over to the green mat so that we can see through this. Then I want to make the frame. So there's an inside frame here. So I'm going to click Control-Shift or hold Control-Shift and then click to make another rectangle. But I'm going to resize this one at 4 inches by 7 inches and press Enter. Oops, I want it 7 by 4. 7 tab 4, Enter. Now I'm going to select both of these and type S to stack the smaller rectangle and the bigger ones. So now that I have them both selected, I'm going to join them, and now I have a frame. Now what I want to do is add the hearts to the frame. As you see here. So I had 3 hearts. We'll go into, or actually 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So on the parts over here, I'll show you how I made these parts. First, I went to Basic Shapes again, my favorite place to go, typed in HE, and I used the Heart 3 generic, so I double click to get that. And then resize these a couple different ways. So the first one, I'm going to make this one 3 inches, and I'll keep the, actually I want it 3 inches square, so I'm going to change the proportions a little bit. The width will be 3 and the height will be 3, and enter. So it does spread that out a little bit. That's this heart here. Then what I did was shadow it to get a backing for it, and then I shadowed it again to get a little larger backing. So to shadow it, I click on that shadow layer, the 4th icon from the right on the bottom, and I'm going to do, let's see, 0.08, enter. So it gives me the same style of shadow basically here, and I'll accept that. And then I will shadow it again, the same heart, at 0.15, just to give me a slightly larger heart. I tried the shadowing a few different ways, and this seemed to work better. If it doesn't work the first time, just try it again. There we go. Okay, so now I have 3 hearts. One, the smaller is the one that's going to go on the top, and the other 2 are just mats, pretty much. And then this one here, I sized to 1.35 inches. So I'll take this, Control-Shift-Click, and it just changes to, with the lock on, 1.35, and enter. And then I have a really tiny one over here, which is about, I resized it once I got it on the project and found it out it needed to be a little skinnier. So again, I clicked on it, the heart, Control-Shift-Click, and I'll just resize this down to whatever I need it to be to fit. And I think this one is slightly taller. So I made it 0.28 inches wide, which is pretty much where it had landed, but a little bit taller. This one was 0.3. So I'll just make this height of 0.3. So I have all the hearts that I need here, but the one that I need to make the card is actually the biggest one. So I'm going to left click just on that outside layer and Control-C, copy. Then I'm going to go back to my original page here. Click, and then Control-Shift and V, paste that on my screen here. And what I want to do is align this first between, horizontally align it. So I'm going to hold Shift and click the frame and the heart, and I'm going to type H, and that puts this perfectly in the center of this opening. And I'm going to use Control-Shift and drag and do, I just want this. I think I got 2 here. Yeah. And I'm going to bring this duplicate over here to this side and line up that little plus with the edge of the inside of the frame. And again, I want to horizontally, type H, horizontally align all of them so they're all even. Now I just need one more for the center. So I'll left click, let's see, Control Shift click, and move it over here in the center of these. Again, I want them all aligned, so I'll just type H. Align to the top or the bottom if I wanted to. Now, if I want to do a spinning heart, I could do that. If I want them to be, maybe I want them to be a little bit closer, I could make them closer. That's entirely up to you. I think when I made my prototype, I did make these a little bit wider so that they touched. But since I already have my hearts and all their shadows made on the other page, I'll leave them the way they are. Now to join them across, I'm going to, again, get another rectangle here, square, just type SQ, double click, and I get my square here. I'm going to make this a 1/2 inch tall, 0.5, and maybe about 7 inches. Now I want it 7 inches wide and a 1/2 inch tall, backwards today. Or you can drag it out. Now I don't want to center these. If I were doing a spinning heart, I might want to do the spinning at about the center where these pluses are, but they don't need to spin, and I'm going to join them at their widest point. You can estimate where you want it. But once I have all of these in place, then I'm going to add a new layer and start putting in the score lines. So to add a new layer, on the lower right corner there's a larger green plus icon. I click on that and that adds a new layer. I like to put my score lines on a separate layer from the rest of the designs. So we need, I'm going to get my drawing tool by clicking on the figure 8 in the upper left corner. Click on the Bezier draw and give myself maybe a little bit of snapping, 1/16 of an inch or so. And I'm going to line up my drawing with this corner. So I'm going to left click here and right click here. I'm going to left click here and right click here. By having snapping on, then I'll have to worry about making my lines straight. And I want a score line kind of down the center of this position here. Left click, and it can go all the way through if you like. You can right click here, and we need one on this side. Left click, right click, let me use a short one here. Because the top and bottom sections are going to fold while the center does not get folded here. So that's why we only need one at the top and one at the bottom. I think I would do better if I start right where I want this to go, right on that line. Left click and right click, and it's not right on the line, but the snapping is causing that. Another reason to turn off snapping if your lines don't go where you want them to go. So I'm going to turn off that snapping and get my selection arrow and drag those, or just tap my right arrow until I get those lines right in place. Now I can leave those as solid to use with my engraving tool, or I can click on, yes.
The second longest score line is crooked.
Yep, sure is. Thank you. I could fix it, but it's probably easier just to draw it better. And maybe I'll get my snapping on again. and left click to start, right click to stop. Okay, so now I'll go to that top layer where I put it all, click on the color icon and select line style, create line style, and then space the dashes where I want them and make the dashes the length that I want and click OK. So now I have scoring lines that I can use for folding. So let's look at the photo here to turn it back to contrast. The first fold on the left is a mountain fold, and you notice the heart doesn't fold. Then just the top and the bottom fold back for a valley. The next one is a mountain, and this one is a valley, and the card stands up by itself, and it folds up to show all of this heart, and it covers up this heart over here. So going back to this, what I'm going to do is hide the score lines, and I'm going to select all of these shapes. And what I love about Make the Cut is it doesn't matter if you have the shapes inside a shape or not. You can select them all and just click on the weld button, and they all weld together. It's nice and easy. So that is the basic card. Then what we can do is grab the parts to layer over it. Now we don't need the big heart anymore because we've already used that, but we can use these hearts for the decoration. So I will Control C, copy, and go back to this page and add a new layer, clicking on the larger of the two green plus icons in the lower bottom to add these here. And maybe I'll change the color now. I'll change this to, I'll hide these because these are the ones I made before. You can hide things by clicking on the eye icon on the layers window. So on this one, I'm going to make this a medium pink, and we'll go to this top layer and we'll go to Edit, Paste in Place, or Control Shift V, and we'll make this a contrast matte so you can see the colors. And I'm going to move the score lines up so we can see them because that helps with placement. In the center sections between the hearts now, we have room to put that little tiny heart that we made. So I will change that to the same color. And before I position it though, I want to make sure that my medium heart is going to fit here. Is that my large one? Yeah, that's a good one. This one I made out of a lighter color, and so I'll send it to the top and put this lighter pink on it so you can see the layers here. Now once I'll turn off snapping because it won't go where I want it to go with snapping on. It doesn't matter where you place it now because when you cut it, you're going to cut it out of a different piece of paper anyway. But holding Control Shift and then just dragging, I can get 3 of these. And then I have another heart for the inside. That would be this one. We'll send it to the top, and I'll just make it a darker color. And this is the one we started with. Now once I have these in position, again, Control Shift and drag, Control Shift and drag gets me those decorative hearts in place. That shows me how much room there is in the middle, and that's why I waited till the end to resize this little heart. I don't really want it overlapping too much the other heart. And I put it where I want it, then Control Shift, click. And with both of those selected, I'd like to at least make them the same height. I can type T to line them up at the top, then look at them and make sure that they're the size and position that I want. If they are, then I'm going to go ahead and hide my score lines so they don't get in the way. I'm just going to drag around those hearts. So select them, hold the shift, and click the frame and join these, and that'll put a hole there so you can kind of see how they're going to look. If you don't like the way they look, like this one's a little bit too far to the right, I'll do Control Z, undo, and then move this over a little bit. Now there are ways to do this perfectly, and sometimes I do want them perfect, so I take the time to use the spacing tool and space them all out right, but you can position them by hand one at a time. So they're selected, shift, click the frame, and join. So now I have the card basically the way I want it. I'm going to right-click, show the score lines, or right-click and move them to the top so you can see where they are. And that is my crisscross, heart crisscross trifold card.